For the legs, you're going to make a magic ring, chain 1, and put in 5 single crochets. Then you can pull to tighten. Go into that first single crochet we did with a slip stitch. Pull through and then do a chain 1. For row 2, you're going to put an increase in every stitch, and you should have a total of 10 single crochets. Okay, so that's 10. Now I'm going to do a slip stitch again into that first stitch, chain 1, and now I'm just going to put 1 single crochet into each stitch. Alright, so I'm done with this row. I'll do a slip stitch. Also just flip it inside out so that way it's facing the correct way, so that this is going to be the outside. Now I'm going to cut my black yarn and change the color to white. So I'm just going to pull the white through and tie a knot with that little black tail there. And for this row, you're just going to do a white row all the way around with 1 single crochet into each stitch, total of 10. And you're going to continue this until you get a total of 7 rows. So this right now is row 4, and you're going to continue this until you get to row 7. Just 1 single crochet of white into each stitch. Alright, this is my last row. Now I'm going to put my hook into that first single crochet of this row, pull through again, and then I'm just going to cut my yarn. And this does not have to be a long tail, just right there. And you're going to go ahead and make a second one, but the second one will just be slightly different, and I will show you how. Okay, so I finished my second leg, and it's exactly the same, except that once you get to the end, you're going to chain 2, and now we're going to attach the legs together. So grab your first leg and go into that first single crochet where you would normally begin to start a new row. Take the yarn, pull the yarn through that hole. You'll have 2 loops. Now pull through both of them like a single crochet. Now your 2 legs are kind of together. And we already did 1 single crochet. You're going to go ahead and put 9 more for a total of 10. Okay, so that's 10. I'm kind of back where I started. Now I'm going to put a single crochet into one of the chain 2s that I did. Or you're going to put it in each of them. So I'm going to begin with, a little hard to see, but I think it's this one. So I'm going to go ahead and put a single crochet into there. And then a single crochet into the next chain. I'm going to go ahead and start on this leg. So going into the one right there, the single crochet, that's 1. Now go around for a total of 10. I already did, and I did 2, so I'll have 8 more. Okay, so now I'm kind of back where I started. So I'm going to go into that chain 1 over there with a single crochet. And I'll do another one for that second chain. So yeah, now you're gonna kind of go around and just kind of build the body up. But before we do that, we have some details that we want to put on her feet, those little lines. So just grab a piece of scrap yarn. I have one right here. And make this a little long so it doesn't unravel. And this is gonna be the front for me. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that the feet are facing forward, and then I'll go ahead and put this in. Alright, so I'm gonna stick my hook kind of just on the side somewhere. Like right there. Maybe the one next to it. And I'm gonna pull the yarn through. Just keep track of that little tail. Then I'm gonna go back in and I'm gonna go across 3 single crochets. Should be right there. And I'm gonna grab the other side of the yarn. I'm gonna pull that through as well. Like that. Now I'm gonna kind of flip this leg inside out. And then I'm gonna tie that strand together. And then you're gonna go ahead and do the same thing for your second leg. So now that we've kind of come full circle, right, with the body, and now our little feet are put together, you're going to build this for a total of 8 rows. We just did 1, so you're gonna do it for 7 more rows. But for the next 7 rows, you're gonna continue normally, except that once you get to the sides of the body, and we want the body to kind of like taper inwards, like this, right? So to do that, whenever you reach the sides, you're gonna put a decrease. So each row should have a decrease on this side and a decrease on this side. So let me show you how I do that. So I'm going to put a single crochet here, and then for decrease, I'm going to go under this front loop, right? There's 2 loops, go over one of them. And then I'd go to the adjacent stitch. I go under the front loop for that one as well. And then I just do a normal single crochet. So that's a decrease. Right, I just kind of took up 2 spaces in one. And you're just going to kind of go around and put those decreases at the side. So that way her body will kind of like taper off, and she doesn't just look really like, I don't know, she's already 3-dimensional, but it'll make her look even more 3-dimensional. So I'm approaching the other side, and at this point, it looks like a good place to do a decrease. So again, going under the front loop of one stitch and the front loop of the next one. Then pulling through those and pulling through again. So this was my second row here, and then I'm going to continue to do 5 more until I get up to the very top of her body. And again, you're going to kind of end maybe like up here, which is kind of where we originally started. Okay, so I finished the body, and I think I said before that we'd end it here, but I actually think it'd be better to end it at the back so that way you don't see the seam. So I'm just going to go a little further. It doesn't quite like matter where you end as long as it's just in the back and you can't see where we end. So I might stop like right here. And to end, I'm just going to do a slip stitch into that very next stitch and then cut it off. So yeah, it doesn't have to be too long. Okay. For the arms, you're going to take this tan color, make a magic ring with 5 single crochets all the way around. Then you can go into that first single crochet and pull through and pull the tail to tighten. Now we're going to change the color to yellow. And you're just going to do a row of yellow. So just one single crochet into each stitch. And you're going to tie that again with that little tan tail in the back. Alright, so then do a chain one and one single crochet into each stitch. Alright, so then this row I'm going to flip it the correct way and do a slip stitch into the very first single crochet, and then we're going to change the color to black. So I'll cut the yellow. And you're going to do the black for I believe a total of 4 rows. So do a chain one and just one single crochet into each stitch. So we'll do the black for a total of 4 rows. Okay, so I finished the 4th row. We're actually going to have one more row after this, but it's going to be different. You're going to do a chain one, and you're going to put a single crochet in the first 3 stitches. Just normal single crochets. And then in the 4th stitch, you're just going to put a slip stitch, then pull through and end it here. So this will make sure that the arm is kind of like slanted, so when it goes onto the body, it won't be like sticking outwards. So leave the tail a little long just because we're going to be sewing the arm onto the dress. We go ahead and make a second arm, and then we'll make the dress. So for the dress, you're going to take yellow yarn and make a chain of 25. Then when you finish making that chain, you're going to straighten that chain out, wrap it around, and put a slip stitch into that bottom loop of the first single crochet you did. And then do a slip stitch and a chain one. And now you're just going to put a single crochet into every stitch, and you should have a total of 25. Alright, so I finished the yellow. I'm going to end it with a slip stitch into that first single crochet I did. I'm going to cut the yellow yarn and switch to black. And with the black yarn, we're going to do the same thing we did with the body, where we put those decreases on the side. And we're going to do this for 4 rows. So this is going to be my first row of black. And whenever I get to the side, I'm going to put a decrease for a total of 2 decreases per row. And this will just help make sure the dress kind of matches the body. So I'm going to do a chain one, and I'm going to put single crochets all the way around. Now over here, and this is the back, so I've kind of reached the side, so I'm going to put a decrease there. And then I'll continue. And also once I get to the other side, I'll put another decrease there. So do this for a total of 4 rows, just for the black. So this is 1 row. So for the next 4 rows of black, you're going to put those decreases in. So you'll have a total of 5 rows. Alright, so I did the 4 rows of black with 2 decreases in each row. Now we're going to do our 5th row of black, 6th row total. You're going to do a chain one and just 1 single crochet in each stitch. Okay, so that's now we have 5 rows of black, and I'm going to go into that first single crochet with a slip stitch. Leave it there for now. Now I find it helpful if you have like bobby pins, oops, or those little like clips. And we're just going to mark out where we want her collar to be, because she's gonna have like a little like empty space here where we can see her collar. And the collar is going to be 5 spaces wide. So you're going to put the seam in the back, and we're going to count out a space of 5. So I'm going to put my first one kind of at the side. So that's kind of like the end of it. Now I want 5 spaces, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll put my next one in the 6th stitch there. Okay, so this is where this gap will be, and then where these clips are is where we're going to start sewing, basically. Sorry, crocheting. So go ahead and grab some black yarn. All right, and you're going to start at one of the clips. So you're going to stick your hook into the place where the clip is. So I'm just going to remove it. Kind of remember where it is. Oh, sorry. You can end this over here. So I already had cut it, but you can just kind of pull through and end it there. So I'll be starting here, and you're just going to pull your black yarn through and tie a knot there. Then you'll do a chain 1 and a single crochet into that same spot. And you're just going to do single crochets all the way around until you get to your other clip, or until you get to the part where you have like those 5 spaces here. Alright, so I got to the point where the pink clip is. I'm going to take that out, and I'm going to put my last stitch into that space. So that's kind of where her little collar is going to be. Now we're going to go back, and we're going to just build this up for a total of 4 rows. So we just did 1, we'll do 3 more. Now I'm going to go the other direction, starting just with a single crochet in that first stitch, and just going all the way around. So this is my 2nd row, and I will have 2 more after I'm done with this. Alright, so this is the 4 rows of black. Now you're just going to end it, just pulling the yarn through, and pull it kind of long because we're going to sew the dress onto the body. And now we're going to do a little bit of detail on the collar. So grab some yellow yarn. And go ahead and kind of stick it into that same stitch that we just finished. Just go ahead and tie it. And stick your hook into that same spot, pull through with a chain 1 and a single crochet into that same space. So we just did 1 single crochet. We're going to do another one. Then we're going to kind of do 1 more. So on the side, you should have 3. Then once you get to this bottom, you'll put 5. So 1 into each single crochet here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we'll go back up the other side with 3 single crochet. So we'll have 1. And it doesn't really quite matter where you put your stitches in. I'm just kind of picking random spots. So yeah, there's the 3. Now you can pull through and cut the yellow. Now what we're going to do, we're going to sew the arms on. Alright, so for sewing the arms on, I find it helpful to first put the body and the dress together so that way you can see where you want the arms to go. So for me, I think I'm going to put them kind of right behind where we just did this yellow rim, so kind of like right there. And you want to make sure that the slanted edge, right, we put it on like correctly. Otherwise, if we go like that, her arms will be like up, right? So keep them down. And then the other thing is that the arms aren't very full, so you can grab some scrap yarn and kind of stuff them in with the end of your crochet hook. That's kind of optional, but I'm just going to stuff it a bit. Now you can go ahead and sew the arm on. So I'm going to take a needle. Put my arm on the proper position. And I'm only going to be sewing through the black dress. I just put it on the body so I could have a nice reference point. But you're just going to sew it on however you like. I go by sticking my my needle into the body and pulling back up. And then going back through the arm so that I can secure the arm on. But really, there's no right way to do this, no wrong way. Just put the arm on however you think is appropriate. And once you kind of get the arm on, you can remove it from the body to avoid confusion. Alright, so the arm is secure. And I think it looks pretty good. If you don't like it, you can kind of like undo it and try again. I've done that a lot. But to tie it, you're going to flip your work inside out. And you're just going to sneak your needle under any little random loop. Very loosely, and when you pull the needle through, it should form this little loop right here, the one my thumb is through. Then you're just going to wrap your needle behind, stick it through that loop, and then pull. It should form a little knot, just to make sure it's more secure. I'm just going to make another knot, like that. Now I'm just going to take my needle and weave the strand under a bit before I cut it, like that. And just go ahead and repeat this for the other arm, and you'll be done. You can also start weaving in the end. So like this yellow color, I'll probably weave this end in. Same with this, well, this black we'll use to sew the body, but yeah. Alright, so I finished putting both the arms on. Now I'm just going to put the dress on top of the legs. And you should have kind of two and a half maybe kind of rows showing right here. And now what we're gonna do, that black strand from when we ended the dress previously, we're gonna take that and we're just going to sew the top of the dress onto the top of the body. So just taking the black yarn and going all the way around and attaching these two together. And you're just going to go around from where the white and the black are. You're not going to do anything around this collar, because when we sew on the head will kind of keep that secure. And you should have around 4 or 5 spaces maybe in the front. Doesn't quite matter, like for the white part. Then you just go ahead and tie this off. And then this strand, you can kind of leave it here, and we can kind of use it to like stuff the body. Right, so any scrap yarn you have, you can just kind of put it in there. So now we're going to make some of the details on the dress. So you're just going to make a small chain of 4. Then go into that first stitch you did with a slip stitch, and that's kind of it. So now what I do, I'm just going to put it in. So I'm just going to stick my hook through. I think this is like, I have like 5-ish stitches here, so I'm just going to put it kind of in the middle maybe. This doesn't quite matter either, as long as it just will stick there. That was one tail, and then I'll pull the other smaller tail through in a different spot. And then I'll tie those together. And then I'll take a needle and I'll just kind of put the rest of the button on. And you kind of want to leave it a little high, because we're going to be putting a little bit of red down there for that additional decoration. So I'm just going to sew this button on. Okay, so my button is on. It looks pretty cute. And now what we're going to do with this remaining yarn, you're just going to kind of sew the collar on. So I'm just going to go here and make sure that each stitch is kind of secure. So that way her dress isn't like flying all over the place. All right. So now that that's on, you can also go ahead and tie that. I think I actually might just tie this with that black yarn that I had here. Just tie those together. Okay. I'm just going to take that yarn and just use it to stuff a bit of her legs, because we don't really need these at the moment. And then you're going to take just a little bit of red yarn, grab your needle, and we're going to be doing a little back stitch. Just along where the bottom of this golden button. So I'm going to stick my hook up into collar. Then I'm going to go back 1. Then I'll go forward some more. Back again. Then one last time. Alright, so there's a little red detail. Now I'll tie the 2 red ends together. And now we're just left with one more little detail on the dress. So we're almost done. The last thing we're going to do, take a little bit of yellow yarn. We're just going to put these little dots on her dress. So, I don't really count like where the stitches are. I just kind of think like, oh yeah, they're supposed to be kind of right along kind of the edges of the yellow border. So we're going to put 2 of those little dots on each side. So I'm going to start, and they should take up the height of 1 single crochet, like each one. So I'm just going to stick mine up between the space between the 5th and the 4th row. Then I'm going to go down into the 4th row. So there's one of them. And then I'll just tie those 2 strands together. and then I'll make another little dot. So I'll skip a row and I'll put one down here. So yeah, and if you want to make them more prominent, you can double up. So I might double up just to make them look a little stronger. And yeah, then you'll do the same for the other side. Alright, so we are completely done with the body now. And what you can do before we start working on the head is that you can just take like any scrap yarn you have and use it to kind of stuff the body and the legs. Okay, so now let's start the head. Make a magic ring with chain 1 and then 5 single crochets. Pull the back to tighten, and then go into that first single crochet with a slip stitch, and for row 2 you're going to do a chain 1 and an increase in every stitch, so 2 single crochets into each stitch for a total of 10. I'm going to go in with a slip stitch into that first single crochet again, pull through. Row 2, you're going to put an increase in the first stitch and a normal single crochet in the second one. For row 3, you're going to do a chain 1, increase in the first stitch, and then normal single crochets for the next 2. So it'll be 2 and then 1, 1. For row 5, chain 1, increase in the first stitch, then normal single crochets in the next 3 stitches. Next row, you're going to do a chain 1, increase in the first stitch, and then normal single crochets in the next 4 stitches. For the next row, we're going to put an increase in the first stitch and then normal single crochets in the next 5 stitches. So that was the last row with increases. For the next 7 rows, I believe it's 7. If I make a mistake, I'll let you know, but you're just going to put 1 single crochet into each stitch for 7 rows. So this is going to be my first row, and then I want a total of 7. So now we're going to do decreases. So I'm going to do a chain 1, put a decrease for the first 2 stitches by going under the front loop of the first 2 stitches, pulling through those front loops, pulling through both. And then I'm going to do 5 single crochets. And then I'm going to do another decrease, and I'm going to do this all the way for this round. Alright, so this was the first row of decreases. Now I'm going to go into the next row, doing decreases again, do a decrease in the first stitch, and now we're going to do 5 single crochets after this decrease. There's 1 decrease, and now I'll do 4 single crochets, and you're just going to do this all the way around. So a decrease and then 4 single crochets after it. Alright, so we'll do another row of decreases. For the next row, we're going to put 3 single crochets after the decrease. So here is my decrease, and then I'll put 3 single crochets after it. Decrease and then 3 single crochets. Alright, so we're going to do another row of decreases, this time with 2 single crochets after the decrease. So here's the decrease, and then I'll put 2 single crochets after it. I believe this should be the last row of decreases. Alright, so this is the last row of decreases, so you can go ahead and end it and leave the tail a bit long because we're going to sew the head onto the body. So now we're going to put the eyes on. I'm using safety eyes. I'm not quite sure how big these are. I think these are 10 millimeter. And we're going to put them basically 2 rows, I believe, above when we started doing the decreases. So I'll just count the normal. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in the 5th line here, starting from the bottom, is where we're going to put the eyes. I like to just put one kind of randomly first, and then I like to see where I'd want the other one. So there's one eye. I think I'll put the other, looks like that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have like kind of like 5 spaces between them. Right, so there's the single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But it doesn't really matter, you can really put them wherever you want. But I think that looks pretty cute. And I'll flip it back and I'll put the backings on. Alright. So now you can take some scrap yarn or stuffing and stuff the head, and then we're going to sew the head onto the body. So the head is stuffed. I'm grabbing my yarn needle now, and I'm going to sew it on, starting from the back. It'll go on like that. So I'm just going to stick it through a point on the black dress, and yeah, just basically sew it on, making sure to try and get every stitch on the head. And also just make sure, always be checking that your head is facing forward the way you want it to. Okay, so the head is on. Now the last thing we're going to do, besides doing the hair, is we're just going to tie it off. So I'm going to sneak it under that stitch right here. Wrap it around with a knot. Another knot for good measure. And then to hide it, I'm just going to stick my needle like in the head. Pull it through. A little deeper maybe. And then I'll cut the yarn. Now we'll make her little horns. So grab some black yarn, make a magic ring, and do a chain 1. Then put 4 single crochets in. And for row 2, go into that first single crochet. And in row 2, we'll do a chain 1, put a single crochet in the first stitch, then an increase in the second one, and you're gonna continue this. So a single crochet in the third stitch and an increase in the very last fourth stitch. Now I'm going to kind of turn it the correct way, inside out a bit. Then you're going to go on to row 3. So for row 3, we're going to do something similar. We will do a chain 1, and in the first 2 stitches, just normal single crochets. In the third stitch, we're going to do an increase. Then 2 more normal single crochets in the next 2 stitches. And in the last stitch, we'll put an increase. For the next row, we'll do a chain 1. Then for the first 3 stitches, just 1 single crochet in each stitch. In the fourth stitch, put an increase. Do it again, so 3 single crochets. And then an increase in the last one. And we're gonna do 1 more row. This time, we're going to do 4 single crochets, then an increase. So chain 1. First 4, get a single crochet. Next one gets an increase. All right, and you can end it here, and you can cut the tail short because we're gonna be gluing it on. Okay, so you're gonna be sticking your needle into the space between the 5th and the 4th row, just any space. And this is a back stitch, so we'll be going back 1 space. And in order to make it look fuller, we're gonna do this another time. So going back up into this space and down 1 more time. And now I'm going to tie these 2 ends together so that they don't come apart. Flip it back and keep going. So we did this one. Now I'm going to go forward and do this stitch and go around it twice. And yeah, you're just gonna go all the way around doing these back stitches. So I finished sewing this, and so you go ahead and make 2 of these. And to end, I'm just going to tie the yellow to this little black here. And yeah, go ahead and make another one, and then you can just glue it on top of her head. Okay, so the way I do the hair is a little bit improvised, but basically, let me zoom out a bit. From the top of the head, right, is where the hair is going to come down. So basically, what I like to do, I'm going to make a chain, and I'm going to make it long. I'm going to do all the long strands first, and I just want to make a chain that will go from the top of her head all the way down to kind of where I want her hair to go. So like as you can see here, I did a couple of these long strands first, and then I didn't glue them completely, and I put some shorter strands under to give the hair some depth. And same thing for the bangs, right? You just kind of measure from the top to the bottom to see how long you want her bangs to go down and stuff like that. And you really just make as many strands of hair as you need to make it look full. So like stuff like this, like I didn't put this strand here originally, but I looked at it and I was like, I think she's looking a little bald, so I added that one later. But I think it's best to put these long strands down first. So I'm just going to keep making this chain, and I'll show you how you make the hair. You make the hair the exact same way for like all of them. I'll show you what you do. So starting from the top, going down, that looks pretty long. I think I'll just do one more, just because one of the spaces will get taken up. So just do however long it is plus an additional chain. So now the way you make the hair, you skip that first chain, and then you go into the second one with a single crochet, and into the next one with a half double crochet. But we're going to do a decrease here, which will make the hair a little wavy. So you're going to go under a loop of one, and then, under the loop of another, and then pull through with a half double crochet. Next, we're going to do a double crochet, but a decrease. So go through one strand, another, and then do a double crochet. And then you're going to do double crochets all the way down until you get to the end. And we're going to do something a little different at the end, just so that it's tapered off. And I'll show you what that is. Alright, so I've kind of reached the end, and you want to leave these two spaces here. In that first one, you're going to put a half double crochet, and in the last one, you're going to do a slip stitch. You don't have to cut it too long. And so the side with these two tails coming out, this is going to go at the top of the head because we can kind of hide those tails down. And then the bottom will have a nice little like curl there. So yeah, you're basically just going to make a bunch of these. I would recommend maybe making like 4 long ones to go down the side, the back of the head. So like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you can make a couple that'll like go down here to make the hair look fuller. For the bangs, I think I had around 5 main ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I had 3 long ones and then 2 little ones that went in between them. So yeah. So just go ahead and make a ton of hair, and then you can just start gluing it on with a hot glue gun. And yeah, I'll show you how I do it. Okay, so I made most of the back strands, and as you can see, I kind of have like 4 main ones, and then I had 2 slightly shorter ones, and then I'm gonna put bangs on as well. But I'm just gonna put the long ones on first, and I'm going to take my hot glue gun. And I want to take care of like these little strands first. And you can weave them in, but I find it's a lot faster. Flip it upside down, so the correct side. Alright, so this is what will be facing upwards. And I'm just going to kind of glue them down here. So I have my hot glue gun. I'm just going to do a little dot there. Then glue these strands down. Kind of fold it a bit so that they stick on. Then I'll cut the rest off, and I'm gonna start gluing it onto the head, and it's nice to kind of organize it a bit first. So the way I like to do it is that these 2 that are more in the middle, I like to put them a bit lower because they'll be longer, and plus it will make the top of the head have a little more room for these to come together, kind of like that. So I'm just going to put a little dollop of glue at the top of her head. And I'm going to place this down. Just like that. And it can just be a very light piece of glue in case you need to like take it off or something and move it. And also because we might like, again, like lift the hair up and put some other small pieces down. So it's good to just do a little bit. So now I'll do another strand. And you're just kind of gonna go ahead and glue it. You'll need maybe 2 glue sticks, 1.5 to 2 glue sticks. You can also use any kind of glue that you prefer. And yeah, you just kind of glue all the hair on. If there's ever a spot where you're like, oh, I should probably maybe have a little more hair there, you can always make like an extra strand and put it on. But yeah, put that one there. And I'm just gonna keep going around gluing, and if I ever think I need another strand, right, like maybe down here, I can go ahead and make that. Okay, so I put the hair on. Made a few mistakes, but you know, still looks pretty cute. And now I'm going to put the horns on. So I'm going to just stuff it with a bit of yarn. And I'm just going to put a ring of glue around the black part. And I'm just going to stick them on her head. And then once you do this, you're going to be all done. Put the other one on. Stuff it a bit. And glue it. Okay. Alright. So yeah, hopefully this tutorial was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I will do my best to help you out. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope your little toy turned out cute.